Hey guys, it's Christine, also known as IvyWinter. Thank you for joining me for another Unpopular Disney opinion. You know, I talk a lot about my favorite Disney movie on the TTA podcast and just in general if you follow me on social, but I've never really talked about why I feel like this movie is the best Disney movie, possibly one of the best movies in general ever made. So I know it's a very unpopular Disney opinion because most people don't really care for this movie. Some people haven't even seen this movie. But I'm here to argue why The Hunchback of Notre Dame is the greatest Disney movie to ever be made. I'm already probably scaring away a lot of people that are like, Christine, what about The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin? What about some current ones like Moana or, I guess Frozen. I'm not a big Frozen fan. Look, a lot of these movies are fantastic. Disney has always been very consistent in putting out pretty amazing movies. They have created some of the best movies ever that have really impacted our growing up in our childhood, and Hunchback of Notre Dame for me was no different. I saw this movie in theaters with my mother, who was also quite obsessed with it, so maybe there's something there, like DNA, who knows. I saw it in theaters when it came out in the summer of 1996, so I was only 10 years old. When you consider some of the themes in the movie, that might sound pretty young to see that movie, but let's be real, nobody knew what it was gonna be about. We all just saw a Disney movie and kind of went to go see it. And yes, there are a lot of dark themes in Hunchback, which I will get to, but as a kid, those all went right over my head. What I really enjoyed was the overall story. What I enjoyed was the bright colors. I was so in love with the cathedral and the whole topsy-turvy scene. I loved the music when I was a kid, and that was what really made me enjoy those films. But it wasn't until I was a bit older, when I was around 16 or so, when I rewatched the film, that it really solidified as my favorite Disney movie and one of my favorite movies of all time. Because I think that it does touch on some very adult and very, yes, dark themes, but I think it does it in a really great way. I think that it is very compelling. Frollo is a very interesting villain who is conflicted internally. He's definitely not a good guy. He's pretty much through and through pretty evil with the way that he treats people, and burning down all of Paris isn't exactly the nicest thing to do in the world either, but he's an interesting villain because he is so conflicted, which I feel like we don't necessarily see with a lot of other Disney villains. Also, Quasimodo is such a lovable, to me, protagonist. He is not the epitome of a hero. As we know, his looks don't really carry him as a hero, but he also doesn't end up with the girl in the end. Phoebus ends up with Esmeralda at the end, and yet Quasimodo is still such a fascinating character. Someone who shows that you can care very much for someone, and in that caring, want only the best for them. Kind of at the end where he puts Esmeralda and Phoebus' hands together. Yes, he was in love with her, but he realizes what the right or better situation for her is, and he embraces that as a friend, and I think that in itself is amazing. He is just such a good character. He is also a very tragic character, obviously being raised by Frollo and kind of the whole scenario that he's in, being stuck in Notre Dame. So I think he has a lot more layers to me than a lot of other Disney characters have. I know a big argument against this movie is like, Christine, but the novel is so depressing and like they still Disneyfied it and whatever. I get it. The novel's super depressing. Like everybody dies, guys. Phoebus is not really a good guy. Everybody dies in the end. It's Disney. I mean, they were never going to make a movie that was so on the nose like that, but I still think that they did a really good job at not shying away from some harder to cover topics that you haven't really seen in a lot of Disney movies since, but they did not shy away from talking about, politics and injustice between people, and even Frollo's kind of sexual desire to Esmeralda and what that means to him as a religious man, or what he deems to be, the right path, and how he's dealing with that, and Phoebus turning away from, being this soldier who follows orders, and Quasimodo turning away from the notion that he is a monster and he is a nobody. I mean, everyone kind of goes through these very interesting character arcs from villain to side character and on. Maybe not Jolly. I feel like Jolly is just a cute goat. But it's all very interesting and I think very intricate. And that's why I really love it. And then for me, the biggest reason that it is the best Disney movie is I think it has the best music, period. It is so operatic and amazing, and I would say Hunchback is one of the only Disney films where I cry right in the very beginning, because like that entire Bells of Notre Dame song, whew, tears. Two other movies I could think of is Up, we all know why, and even The Lion King, because Circle of Life gives me chills every freaking time I hear it. Doesn't matter how many times I hear that song. So it is up there as one of three that makes me cry within the first like 10 minutes. The music is just phenomenal. I mean, the choirs and the individual singing and every single song for me is wonderful. The only one that feels a little off to me is A Guy Like You, which is the song that gargoyles sing to Quasimodo. That's the one that you're just like, oh yeah, I get it, this is the humorous song, but it feels off from the rest of the vibe of the movie. But everything else is so amazing, not even just the actual lyrical music, but the score itself. And I don't think that there is a single better Disney scene than the scene where Quasimodo holds Esmeralda up while the rest of the city of Paris is burning. He holds her up, she's passed out from the smoke of the fire. He doesn't know if she's dead or not. He just yells sanctuary over and over again. I mean, just an amazingly beautifully animated scene, amazingly scored scene, so emotional, so impactful, and there is literally no other Disney scene that has stuck with me the way that that scene has stuck with me. So that's just a few of my reasons of why I think Hunchback is amazing. I understand that it is not for everybody. It is definitely a very niche Disney movie. They don't make a lot of merchandise. They don't really like promote it. The fact that it's even in Happily Ever After like brings me joy. It sparks joy for me, but I know it doesn't get a lot of love, but for the people who have never seen it before, I really urge you to sit down and watch that movie and give it a chance. And if you haven't seen it in like a decade, please give it a chance. And if you still hate it, that's okay. But I honestly think it is the best Disney movie that has ever been made, and so far for me, nothing has topped it. Anyway, guys, that's my very unpopular Disney opinion. I'd love to know in the comments below, what do you think about Hunchback? Have you ever seen it? Has it been a really long time? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you indifferent to it? What do you think is the greatest Disney movie of all time? You can let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, then like it. If you like me, you should subscribe. I make videos every single week. I'm getting attacked by things on my bookshelf right now, which probably means it's time to wrap up. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching and have a great rest of the day. Bye.